So may I request you to sit upright, please. सीधा होके बैठिए जरा. सीधा होके बैठना क्यों आवश्यक है इसके ऊपर आप चिंतन मनन बाद में कीजिएगा, लेकिन इस समय जरा सीधा होके बैठिए. प्लीज सिट अपराइट एंड जेंटली क्लोज योर आईज. Pay attention to your natural breathing. Do not manipulate, just witness your incoming and outgoing breath. Do not allow your mind to go anywhere except your natural breathing. Now we'll recite Shanti Mantra. For that, please take one deep, long breath. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhimastu Ma Vidvishai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. If you know the meaning of this prayer, contemplate upon the meaning. Once again, take one deep, long breath, and while exhaling, slowly open your eyes. So, welcome to all of you. So, there are 2-3 points in my mind before we start Shiva Samhita. First, just I was talking with Ranaji that whether we have discussed or shed some light on the central theme of the workshop, that is Yogo Bhakti Dukha. Number 1. Number 2, I think that it is essential on my part to lay the foundation about Hatha Yoga, because this text deals with the Hatha Yogic principles and the practices. So therefore, 2 things in the beginning we'll discuss. Number 1, would like to shed some light on the central theme of this workshop. Yogo Bhavati Dukha. You all know that this verse comes in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, wherein Yukta Ahar Viharasya Yukta Cheshtasya Karmasu Yukta Swapnabodhasya Yogo Bhavati Dukha. So, first and foremost is that unless you know or recognize the dukkha, how you will be able to overcome this dukkha. Therefore, it is better to understand the proper connotation of this dukkha, whether it exists or it does not. So, dukh, when we say, we defines this dukh as pratikula vedaniyam dukkham. When the things are not happening according to your will and wish, you call it dukkha. But when things are happening according to your will and wish, you call it sukha. This shows that the objective world or the object of this universe is not painful or pleasurable. We impose our thought on the object and thereby the object becomes painful or pleasurable for us. From where we are imposing, so whatever the deeds we have done in the past, the all impressions of all our deeds, they are somewhere or other stored up or collected or imprinted on our consciousness. Whenever we see the particular object, that particular impression comes to the surface and we accordingly impose on that particular object, and thereby the object becomes painful or pleasurable for us. This is the story behind how the object becomes painful or pleasurable for us. Actually speaking, if we dive a little deep into it, we can understand, and we have to understand, as Yajnavalkya says, Sukhasya dukhasya na kopi data. No one can give you pain or pleasure in this world. This is what we should apply in our day-to-day life, because in day-to-day life we are imposing something upon him that because of him I am suffering. We have to keep in mind, no one can give you pain or pleasure in this world. If you think that parodadati kubuddhiresha, if you think that you are getting pain because of someone, it is kubuddhi, not subuddhi. Aham karomiti virtha abhimana. I have done so many things for him, but he is not taking care of me now. This is also a false notion. You cannot do anything for anyone, anybody. So then who is responsible? Swakarma sutram grathita hi loka. That is what the deeds which you have done in the past are responsible for your pain and pleasure. Therefore, today onwards we have to pass a resolution that we will not impose anything to anybody about our pain and pleasure. We will consider that I am suffering or I am happy only because of my own deeds. So therefore I have to take care of my deeds. How to perform my deeds? Whether I have to perform my deeds with awareness or mechanically. If you go on performing your actions mechanically, friends, no one can help you to overcome this dukkha, and dukkha cannot be cannot be overcome. Therefore, this is to be the same idea is conveyed everywhere in our scripture. If you go through even the Ramcharitamanas of Tulsidas, when Bharat came to the jungle with a view to see the Rama, and Lakshman, who was working as a watchman at the point, he saw that Bharat is coming and he is armored, he is coming along with the army. So he was angry. Because of him we are here in the jungle, because of him this, because of him that. Then he went in and told to Rama, Bharat is coming, he is armored, whether he is coming to fight with us here, we are only because of him we are here. Then Rama says, Ko na kahu sukh dukh kar data, nij krit karma bhog sab bhrata. The whole scripture is talking one and the same thing. Friends, there is a need to understand. When Sankhya philosophy starts, it says, Dukha traya abhighatat jigyasa tat abhighat ke hetu. We have to pay attention to this fact. We have to understand the theory behind this, Let us analyze little bit about this. There are so many problems in the world, but our sages and saints, our philosophers, they have classified all problems, all dukkha into three. That is adhyatmic dukkha, adi bhautik dukkha and adi devik dukkha. Adhyatmic dukkha, all are related to body and mind. So before we analyze this dukkha, let us understand the swasthya first. What is the swasthya? In Sushrut Sthan, particularly in Sushrut Samhita, in Sutra Sthan, the Sushrut defines samadosha samagani samadhatu malkriya prasanna atmendriya manaha swasth itya vidhiyate. Swastha, that is swastha. This definition of health encompasses everything, your all aspect. Because we have to keep in mind that our Indian thought does not divide man in watertight compartments. It considers man as a whole, encompassing everything. So this health definition is giving you everything. Now, whenever there is a imbalance in the humor, samadosha, when balance, there is a health. When there is a imbalance, there is a problem. So whenever there is a imbalance in the vata pitta kapha, it creates some problem. Now, we take some medicine and we become all right. Now, you have to react whether this problem can be repeated again or not. Whatever the treatment you have done, you become all right because of the certain pills, Will this problem will not repeated again? Please let me know. It is a workshop, you have to react. It can be repeated. No guarantee can be given that the same problem will not be repeated again. It means there is no permanent solution to overcome the physical problems in the world through the man-made means. Whatever the means man has created, they are incomplete. They cannot overcome our problems, physical problems permanently. Are you agree with this? Now, coming to the mental problem, प्रिय का वियोग और अप्रिय का संयोग means whatever you want you may not get. Whatever you get, you may be able to possess, but you may not be able to enjoy it. So there is a gap in between your desire and the achievement. This gap creates a mental problem. Your desire and your achievement. When your achievement is not according to your, in accordance to with your this desire, it gives you mental pain. Now, is there any permanent solution for this? There is no permanent solution. Similarly, just now I came to know through our he was talking about that there is a problem in the, वो एक पुल बह गया उसमें 20 आदमी चले गए. This is a Devik pain. Natural calamities. There is too much flood, But sometimes there is no rain at all. Whenever there is an imbalance in the natural forces, this world, universe is nothing, dear friends. it is the universal, the natural forces are working with a view to maintain the activity of this universe, nothing else. Whenever there is an imbalance in the natural forces, you may say the divine forces, there is a Devik pain, earthquake, too much flood. There are so many examples. Is there any permanent solution to overcome this problem? Nothing. Nowadays there is a terrorist problem. It is a bhutatmak, it is a bhautik dukha. Dukha which is created by the fellow being is said to be bhautik. Is there any permanent solution for this? No solution. So ultimately, on the basis of this analysis, we found that we cannot overcome our dukkha through the man-made means. Are you agree with this up to this point? But our sages and saints, they say, no, you can overcome this problem permanently. There is a solution. What is the solution? They say, just try to know who you are. Who am I? Just put a question mark, who am I? If you understand who am I, you will be able to overcome this threefold suffering permanently, and this is the point where Indian thought starts. Who am I? This is the root of the Indian thought, wherein all the philosophers, they have given thought and they have developed a different paths through which you will be able to understand who I am. They have used a common strategy, a common technology, and that technology you have discussed yesterday or day before yesterday. We call it Chaturvyuha, which is very much similar to the modern medical science. Now let us pay attention to the modern medical science first. There is a disease and there is a cause of disease. There is a health state and the treatment part. This is the fourfold strategy is being used in modern medical science with a view to overcome the human problems at the superficial level. Now, the same strategy, if you go through the Four Noble Truths of Buddha, it talks one and the same. There is no difference at all. When you talk in terms of Patanjali, he says, Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. The Dukkha, which is not yet come. If you go through the 16th Sutra of the second chapter, it says, Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. Anagat, which is not yet come. The pain which you have experienced in the past, the pain you are experiencing in this life, cannot be overcome. This is to be kept in mind. It is preventive. Keep this in. Yoga is preventive, it says. You can overcome your suffering which is not yet come. Today, you have took this birth, and whatever the karmasha you have brought with you, this is to be experienced. Na bhuktam chiyate karma kalpakoti shateirapi avashyam meva bhoktavyam kritam karma shubhashubham. Whatever the deeds you have done in the past are to be experienced. You cannot escape. You can take the example of various personalities, say for example the Ramana Maharishi, the latest example, or so many people, they are suffering from many problems. Because whatever the karmasha, the storehouse of your subliminal impressions you have brought, it is to be actualized, it is to be experienced. So therefore, you can stop this cycle, of another karmasha, that can be stopped. So only anagat dukh can be overcome, not the present. Number one. But how to prevent this unless you know the cause of the problem? Doctor cannot give any kind of treatment unless he understands the cause of that particular disease. Therefore, he tells that you go and take the MRI, you take this X-ray, that X-ray, and thereafter he comes to the conclusion, this is the basic problem and therefore I have to treat this. Same way, you have to understand what is the cause of this dukkha which is being experienced and how to avoid this. The other sutra says, Drashta drishya sanyogo heya hetu. Drashta is said to be the seer principle, the witnessing principle, which cannot be reduced to the object. It always observes, is observer. So, drashta drishya. Drishya means the observable, whatever is observable in this world. You can observe your all activities, your mind, your intellect, your everything. So, whatever is observable, it is drishya, the manifested. This yoga, the association of drashta with drishya. So today we have misidentified ourselves with this body and the phenomena associated with it. This is my book, this is my car, this is my this associated, whatever is. We have misidentified ourselves with that which we are not actually. This misidentification is because of your perception error. It is inherited, inherited. It is there in the karmasha. Now, it is only because of your perception error. Perception error is mithya gyan, wrong knowledge. This is a wrong knowledge that I have identified myself with this body. Now, so what is the health state? What is the han state? Tad abhavat. When there is no perception error, there will be no misassociation. And when there is no misassociation, you will get established in your true nature. That is the state of Kaivalya, where there is no pain at all. But how to remove this perception error? How to remove this avidya? What is the treatment? So treatment is abhiplava viveka khyati. Abhiplava viveka khyati hanopaya. That is hanopaya. That is the treatment. Abhiplava. Viplava means shaking. Abhiplava means unshaking. The knowledge which you have today, this is a shaking knowledge. Either it is a hard knowledge or it is inferential knowledge. Whatever the understanding you have developed about life phenomena, either it is hard or it is based on the inference. And so long this is based on the hard knowledge or inferential knowledge, this is a shaking knowledge. It is a useless knowledge. Knowledge which is based on your own concrete experiences is said to be abhiplava knowledge. Your own concrete experiences. Then from where this concrete knowledge will be achieved? Only yoganga anushtanat. And here comes the role of yoga. There is no other way. So yoga is a common matrix for one and all. Whether we talk in terms of Hinduism, whether we talk in Jainism, whether we talk in Buddhism, whether we talk in other terms, even though you may go to the other religion, Islam, Christianity or other, Zoroastrian or everywhere there is a common, yoga is a common platform for all. Without this yoga, The Abhiplab knowledge cannot be developed, and unless we develop this Abhiplab knowledge, we cannot overcome the perception error, and there will be no this association. So this misassociation is present only because of this perception error. So now yoga, there are various, right from the, if you go back to the Indus Valley civilization, even though John Marshall has made some plate in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro evacuations, we have got so many things. Hatha yogic concepts or practices were prevalent in Indus Valley civilization. The other Patanjalian concepts were prevalent in Indus Valley civilization. I am talking about the pre-Vedic period. Then the Veda, Upanishad, everywhere you will find the old. So people were practicing. If you go through, in Mahabharata it is said some Hiranyagarbho yogasya vaktana anya puratanaha. Some Hiranyagarbha. Who is this Hiranyagarbha? We do not know. But Lord Krishna in 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he himself says, Imam vivasvate jnanam prahuraham abhyam. Abhyam means jo change nahi hota. I am unchanging. And I taught this to Vivasvan first. Vivasvan stands for the sun. And sun handed over that knowledge to Manu. Manu handed over that knowledge to Ikshvaku. And in between this knowledge was lost. And the same knowledge is being imparted to you, Arjuna, today. So on the basis of this description, yesterday you were hearing in Swami Chinmaya Paduka Pujan, at the time when Swamiji was talking, that the different, so Sampurna Avatar, Lord Krishna is said to be the Purna Avatar, you know. He himself says, this Hiranyagarbha also. So even though the Vedic mantras were seen by the rishis, and therefore they are said to be mantra drashtara, rishya, they cannot, one cannot see the mantras without developing that kind of vision, you know. So this vision can be developed only through the practice of yoga only. So it means yoga is as old as the human existence. As Vedas are said to be the godly wisdom, similarly the yoga is also a godly wisdom, you can say, on the basis of this logic, you know. So there are various, people were practicing as per their own temperament and as per their own constitutions, and therefore they have developed a various schools of yoga. So all these schools can be classified under two heads only. That is, the Prana Sanyaman, those who are dealing with the energy, they are said to be the Prana Sanyaman. And others, they are dealing with the bhav and therefore the bhavana feeling. So under this Jnana, Bhavana, Jnana, Bhakti and Karma, these three can be understood under the Bhavana Yoga, and Prana Sanyaman Yoga, Hatha, Lay, Mantra and the Raj. These are the four, which is very prevalent. Mantra, Hatha, Lay and Raj. These are the mantras. There are so many, so somewhere or other they come under this all. There are certain common practices in Mantra, Hatha and Lay and Raja, common practices. But here also some common practices, we'll discuss if we get time. So it depends upon the individual's constitution and temperament, which path is suitable. In the olden days, the disciples were residing with the master, the Guru, and Guru was deciding that he is having this kind of attitude, he must go in Jnana Yoga, because he seems to be a thinking oriented person. she is emotion oriented person because she believes in singing and dancing in the praise of God. So therefore she should go to Bhakti Yoga. And Swamiji is only, he believes that my work is my worship. So he can go for the Karma Yoga. Someone can go for Hatha Yoga. But this Hatha Yoga, we have to understand the proper connotation of Hatha Yoga. So here I stop. You can overcome the threefold suffering. Yoga can become dukkha only when you understand yourself, who am I. This is what is the central theme of this workshop. Now coming to my topic, that is Hatha Yoga, because this text deals with the Hatha Yoga practices and principles. Therefore, you must know the background, what we have to do and how we have to do. People have mistaken in understanding this Hatha as a force. They are applying force in life, whether they are performing asanas or pranayama or something else. No force. Let us understand the proper connotation of this Hatha term. Now in literature we find Hakara uchyate Surya, Thakara Chandra uchyate. Surya Chandra Masor Yoga Hatitya Vidhiyate. What is this? Hakara uchyate Surya, Surya Nadi. So before we talk in terms of this Nadi, before I explain this Ha and Tha, we have to understand that according to this Hatha Yoga, every creature, not only the human being, every creature is having a one bulbous root, egg-shaped bulbous root at the perineum part. Where is it? It is 2 angul or 2 inches above the anus and 2 inches below the pubic bone or the root of the penis. This place is known as Yoni Sthan. In this Yoni Sthan, there is a Kanda. Kanda means is a bulbous root from where all the nadis are originated, and there are 72,000 nadis in Hatha Yoga. However, Shiva Samhita says not 72, 3,50,000 nadis. Shiva Samhita talks about 3,50,000 nadis. All these nadis are originated from there. There are 2 opinions in the scripture. I have written one article on this Kanda, and I have said, unless we understand this nucleus, unless we understand the yogic anatomy and physiology, the yoga will not be understood with the help of modern anatomy and physiology. So one has to understand the yogic anatomy and yogic physiology, and this is the central point from where we can start. This Kanda is the central point. There are 2 opinions in the scripture. One is it is situated in the navel region. Other one says it is situated in the Adhar level at the pelvic floor. So, but wherever it may be, it depends upon the experience of an individual, how he experiences it. In my article, I have established that it is at the perineum part, because if we accept the place at the navel region, then it will be difficult to explain the Mooladhara and Swadhisthana chakra. So therefore, and all the description about Kundalini Shakti which is residing at the perineum part, below the Adhar chakra or at the Adhar chakra. So there are so many things, but this is to be understood. So when we say Hakara uchyate Surya, Surya Nadi, we will call it Pingala Nadi. So out of this 72,000 nadis, there is a Pingala Nadi, there is a Ida Nadi, Chandra Nadi we call it. and in between there is a Sushumna Nadi. And it is the only Shiv Samhita which talks about the Chitra Nadi. In Sushumna there is a Chitra, Brahma Nadi and then Chitra Nadi. And this Chitra is also called a Brahma Nadi, in other words. So, in day-to-day life you can observe, sometime your right nostril works, sometime your left nostril works. Both the nostrils, they are not working together. So, the purpose is to make this flow together. This is the purpose. Hakara uchyate Surya. Why it is called Surya? Whenever your right nostril is working, your energy is being consumed because the catabolic functions are going on in the body, and therefore there is a wear and tears. And therefore, whenever this energy is being consumed, there is an energy breakdown and it produces the heat, and therefore it is equated with the sun, Surya Nadi. When your left nostril works, this left nostril, energy is being conserved, stored up, and whenever the energy is conserved, it gives you coolness. You can observe, in the morning you are fresh, but in the evening you are exhausted because there is no energy at all. So, whenever the anabolic functions are going on in the body, your right nostril works. When catabolic functions are going on, your right nostril works. Anabolic, the left; catabolic, the right. Now, the purpose of this is that both the nostrils should work together. That is the purpose. Hakara uchyate Surya, Thakara Chandra uchyate, Surya Chandra Masori Yoga. When they are flowing together, Hat Itya Vidiyate, that is Hat. But it cannot be done. Now there is another story behind, which is to be understood properly. And that story, that the universal prana, energy, which is concealed in this body in the form of, it is a prana. But people, because this prana is revolving at the perineum part, at the pelvic floor, where it is concealed. Now this prana, so long it is revolving at the perineum part, your right nostril works, your left nostril works, both the nostrils, they are not working together. The purpose of Hatha Yoga practices, single practice will never help you. There are composite view of all the practices. You have to make this prana, which is revolving in a kundalakar, therefore it is equated with the Kundalini Shakti. This Kundalini Shakti is not that serpent in our body. It is a prana revolving in a kundalakar, therefore symbolically equated with the serpent power. So this prana, with the help of various practices, we have to enter this prana into Sushumna Nadi. And once this prana, when you are able to enter this prana into Sushumna Nadi, all the chakras, the Mooladhara chakra, the Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, and Vishuddha and Agya chakra, all by pressing, this prana presses all the chakras, the granthis, and this prana reaches to the Sahasrara, where Shiva is sitting, and Shiva is merging, this energy merges with Shiva, and this is the union of Shiva and Shakti. And this is called Sanyoga, this is called Yoga, Hatha Yoga. And this merging of Shiva and Shakti is also called Mahalaya. Mahalaya. This is the base of this Hatha Yoga. All paths, whether it is a Hatha Yoga, whether it is Mantra Yoga, whether it is Raj Yoga, or whatever it may be, all are leading you towards the one end. That end is nothing but Samadhi. And Samadhi is not that state, my dear friends, where you have to keep your eyes closed and you have to sit in one corner of the room. No. not at all. It is not the state of samadhi. Samadhi is a total integration of your personality, wherein whatever you think, that only you speak, and whatever you speak, that only you take to the action level. This is called total integration. When you are established in the concept of oneness, when you don't differentiate yourself from others, this is called samadhi state. And this is samadhi state. It's not that you have to close your eyes and you have to sit in one corner of the room. No, not at all. So keeping this, so some of us may be having that kind of inclination towards the mantra yoga. Through the mantra yoga you can go, through the hatha yoga, or through the lay yoga, through the karma yoga, through the this yoga, that yoga. But purpose is to reach to the state of samadhi. That is the purpose. So now this text deals with the hatha yogic principles and the practices. So we may say that we are going to discuss about the. So this hatha yoga particularly, this text is dealing with the Advaita Vedanta, in other words, to be very, very frank. Because if you go through the Goraksha Shataka, you will find that the Shiva, according to them, is nothing but Brahman. And therefore, the meaning of the term yoga is sanyoga, not the viyoga. When you talk in terms of Sankhya and Patanjali Yoga philosophy, this term used as the samadhi for integration or for separation. There is a beautiful definition in Bhagavad Gita, tam vidyat dukkha sanyoga viyoga yoga sangitam. Tam vidyat. You have to know that dukkha sanyoga, today we are associated with pain. Dukkha sanyoga, viyoga, when there is a separation from this dukkha, is said to be yoga. So yoga stands for separation. Prakriti Purusha sanyoga and Prakriti Purusha viyoga. So this term is viyoga for Patanjali Yoga Sutra and Sankhya. But these all hatha yogis, whether you go to Yoga Vashishta, whether you go to Bhagavad Gita, whether you go to other texts, all they are talking about the sanyoga, union, unification of oneness. That is the concept behind. Now, can you put this? So we'll give you a little bit about the introduction of the Shiv Samhita, but let me tell you, there was a great scholar in our institute long back. He has established that there are 5 most important hatha yogic texts, and they are said to be next. These are the 5 hatha yogic texts. Dr. Shukla, he has identified 5 hatha texts. This is Gorakshatak, Siddh Siddhanta Paddhati, Hatha Pradipika, Garuda Samhita and Shiv Samhita. Now, in Goraksha Shatak, Gorakshanath, in 9th century, he established, as Patanjali systematized the Yoga Vidya which was scattered in the scripture. Similarly, the Hatha Yogic concepts and principles, the practices, it was established by Gorakshanathji in 9th century. Again, it does not mean that Patanjali is the expounder of yoga or the Goraksha is the expounder of yoga, because according to them, Hatha Yoga, the Lord Shiva is considered to be the expounder of yoga. So these two people have established the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which is said to be the parental stalk for all further development, and Gorakshanath established this Hatha Yoga in Patanjali in 2nd century BC and Gorakshanath in 9th century. So at that point of time, yamas and niyamas were prevalent, people were following, and therefore it does not mean that they have not given emphasis to follow the yamas and niyamas. No, they have, but they have not kept under the limbs of yoga. So Gorakshanath established the 6 limbs of yoga. They have started from asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. So 6 limbs. So this Shatak, you know, it is 100. So within the 100 verses, the whole theory of or the theme of 6-fold path of yoga is explained so systematically. If you go through, you will be astonished. So this is called Goraksha Shataka. Actually, there is a small story behind. Swami Kubalyananda started working. He was having a hypothesis in his mind that if this is a Shatak, it should contain only the 100 verses. But when Swamiji started, so Swamiji found that there are so many verses, some 147, 170. So out of this, Swamiji started choosing the 100 verses, and he chosen. He was at the verge of publishing that material. He could get one manuscript from India Office Library, London, and when he saw that manuscript, it was containing 100 verses, but 2 verses were repeated in it. So Swamiji put a star marks on this 2. But thereafter, when I took this as head of the philosophical theory, so I started my hunch, to find out the manuscript. And you will be astonished to know that I could find one manuscript from Lucknow University, which was describing only the 100 verses and the whole theme. So 2 verses were exchanged by our team at that point of time. So now it is 100 verses. You can say we have reached to the writer, that because the duty of the editors is to reach to the original work of the writer, that we have reached. So now the another one is Siddh Siddhant Paddhati. This work is also going on in our institute. We are preparing the critical edition of this text. Siddh Siddhant Paddhati talks about the whatever exists in the Brahmanda that exists in the body. So Yad Brahmande Tad Pindande, that philosophy is established in this text. According to this text, means, in other words, this body is considered to be the miniature of this universe. Again, talking about, it is not talking about the 6 limbs of yoga, but the fundamental principles are described in Siddh Siddhanta Paddhati. It describes the tradition of Siddhas actually. Now coming to the Hatha Pradipika, we call it Hatha Pradipika. We do not call it Hatha Yoga Pradipika. But if you go through the other version of this text, they are said to be Hatha Yoga Pradipika. Why? Because we have prepared this critical edition on the basis of 100 verses, 100 manuscripts, verses, not verses, 100 manuscripts. And this text is known very important. It's succinct, what you call the description of the Hatha Yogic principles and practices. It is wonderful. It talks about the 4 limbs of yoga, asanam, and he gives the Prayavachi, synonym term of pranayama, as kumbhaka, because he understands that without this kumbhaka, the energy cannot be directed towards the Sushumna Nadi without this Kumbhaka, and therefore pranayam is nothing but Kumbhaka for the Swatmara. And then the Mudra and Nadanusandhan. These are the 4 limbs accepted by Swatmara. Wonderful text. Now coming to the Ghirana Samhita, in the first phase it was completed some way or other, but it accepts the 7 limbs of yoga. He is talking not about Hatha Yoga, but he talks about the Ghat Yoga. And Ghat for him, he himself says that this body is like a Ghat. It is to be, as you are baking the pitcher, the mud pot, you are heating the mud pot with a view to bake it properly. Similarly, you have to put yourself in the fire of knowledge, then only you will be baked and you will be able to do whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do, and that doing is nothing but to know yourself. So, this is 7 limbs of yoga. Then coming to the last one which we have to go through, talks about mainly it does not binds the yoga in the limbs, yogic limbs. He has a free, but the most important thing which he has described in his text, in this Shiva Samhita, we do not know who this Shiva is, but this text is described in the form of dialogue between Lord Shiva and Parvati. Parvati asks the question, Lord Shiva answers. So it is in a dialogue form. This book is in a dialogue form. So the most important part, why we took this for in 1999, we have published the critical edition of this text based on the 17 manuscripts. We have also took the published text of Shirish Chandra Basuji because there were some errors. He has dropped the Bajroli Mudra from the text, and as per the principle or rules of the editors, the editor cannot drop anything from the original text. So this is one part. Another, there were some difficulties in understanding the translation part also. So we have also taken the Shirish Chandra Basu's book for this critical edition. The first edition were published in Hindi, which you are going to see here, and the second one in 2009. So that is in the English version also. So both the versions are available. For this work, we worked hard in finding out the manuscripts from different libraries. I personally visited the Ujjain Sindhya Oriental Research Institute, Ujjain, then the Jaipur, Jodhpur, all this whole round, and few manuscripts we could get from Tanjore, and only this book is based, the critical edition is based on the 17 texts. So today, the most special aspect of this is there are 4 kinds of yoga, that is Mantra Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Laya Yoga and Raj Yoga. This text particularly let you know, if you are having this kind of qualities with you, you can follow the Hatha Yoga. If you are having these qualities with you, you can follow the Mantra Yoga. If you have these qualities, you can follow the Raj Yoga, Laya Yoga or Raj Yoga. This is what the special aspect of this text. And also there are so many things, practical things. Say for example, with regard to the food, in this, the central theme of this, workshop, Yukta Ahar. See, with a view to actualize our own self, I think first and foremost is that we have to pay attention to our food which we are consuming. This is most important. This is Shiv Samhita. In the 5th chapter it says, all of us are consuming 4 kinds of food. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Vaishva Naro Bhutva, in the 15th chapter, Aham Vaishva Naro Bhutva, Praninam Dehamashrita, Pranapan Samayukta, Pachamyannam Chaturvidam. 4 kinds of food. What is that 4 kind of food? Chewing food, liquid food, sucked food and drink. ये 4 प्रकार का अन्न जो है वो every one of us ये खाते हैं हम लोग. Now this is only Shiv Samhita which says Chaturvidasya annasya rasastreda vibhajyate. This 4 kind of food which we are consuming, when it goes to the umbilicus area, the Saman Pran assimilates this food and the 3 kind of juices are excreted from this food. 3 प्रकार का रस निकलता है उसमें. And the first type of ras is considered to be Uttam Koti, the best kind of use which nourishes your subtle body. And therefore it is said, Jaisa Anna or Vaisa Man. So your subtle body is being nourished by the food, this essence of the food which you consume. Now the second part, this part nourishes your physical Annamaya Kosh. And the rest part, the third part is the waste material which goes out from the body. So this is the only text and it says, whenever your right nostril is dominating, you have to eat. It means whenever you feel hungry, these are some practical tips, Whenever you feel hungry, at that point of time, you may observe that your right nostril is dominating. Whenever you feel thirsty, your left nostril is dominating. And whenever your right nostril is dominating, then only you eat. Whenever your left nostril is dominating, then only you drink the water. Otherwise, if you go opposite, it will create problem related to the digestion. Anile, the term used by Shiv Samhita is Anile Ark Parveshe Cha Bhoktavyam. Anile means the Vayu. When it flows through the right nostril, then only you go for eating. There are so many things. There are few concepts which are not understandable to me, and therefore I have mentioned in the introduction, if some sadhaka comes to understand these concepts, Panchsthanam Sushumnayam. Till date I am trying to understand this, but till date I couldn't understand. And I have mentioned this in the introduction part. If some sadhaka understands, I am very much interested to know this. So my sincerity and honesty is reflected in the text, whatever we have done in this. So therefore, here some few things which are, so we'll start with the Shiv Samhita. Go ahead. Yes. So Shiv Samhita is a very important text mainly because it deals with the Hatha Yogic concepts and practices. It describes in detail the concept of Vayu, Nadi, Chakras, etc. and also about Kundalini Shakti. In the 2nd chapter, we'll discuss. It also recommends different types of sadhana as per the classification of sadhakas, as I have discussed with you. Next. So Shiv Samhita is a collection of yoga in dialogue form between the Lord Shiva and Parvati, which is evident from the colophon. If you go through the colophon, means Samapti Vakya. So at the end of the chapter, as in Bhagavad Gita, Upanishatsu, Brahm Vidyayam Yoga Shastre, Purushottam Nam Yogo Nam Panchadasho Dhyaya, something like this is called colophon. So this is colophon. So on the basis of the colophon, this is what? The collection of yogic concepts and practices that leads one to the reality called Shiva. Reality is Shiva, in other words, and this Shiva stands for the absolute Brahman, nothing else. It's termed as Shiv Samhita. Shiv Samhita justifies the both aspects, knowledge and practice of yoga. It refutes the karma kanda aspect. It appreciates the jnana and yoga. It believes in whatever exists in the universe, so exists in the body. So body is considered to be the miniature of this universe. It describes 4 kinds of yoga: mantra, hatha, laya and raja. Accordingly, there are 4 kinds of sadhakas. It also talks about the hindrances on the path of yoga. Now, if you go through Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there are also obstacles in the path of yoga. Vyadi, Styan, Sanchaya, Pramad, Alasya, Vritti, Bhranti, Darshan, Alabdha, Bhumikatva, etc., etc. These are the 9. And along with that, this 5 concomitants, what we call the Sahbuba, Dukh, Daur, Manasya, Angamejyatva, Shwas, Prashwas, Vikshep, Sahbuba. These are considered to be the hindrances or Chit Vikshepa in the path of yoga, because they distracts you. Now if you go to Swatma Rama, he says, Atyahara, Prayasacha, Prajalpo, Niyamangraha. These are said to be the hindrances in the path of yoga. Similarly, Shiv Samhita is very particular. It talks about the Jnana Rupa Vigna, Bhoga Rupa Vigna and Dharma Rupa Vigna. It's very particular. Here, friends, we have to dive a little deep. All of us are coming in contact with the outer universe with the help of 3 Shaktis, 3 powers. These 3 are nothing: your Jnana, Ichha and Kriya. Your Jnana, Ichha and Kriya. Now today you have knowledge, and whatever the knowledge you have, accordingly you have the desires. And whatever the desires, accordingly you go to the you are performing your actions. So Jnana, Ichha and Kriya, these are the 3 fundamental potentialities with the help of which we are interacting with the outer world. बाह्य जगत के संपर्क में इन 3 शक्तियों के माध्यम से ही हम लोग आते हैं. आज आपको ज्ञान है, ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं है, लेकिन वो संसारिकता का ज्ञान है. दिस नॉलेज इज रिलेटेड टू द सेंसरी प्लेजर्स, टुवर्ड्स द मटीरियल साइड. And when knowledge is related to the material side, then naturally the desire will be in accordance with the knowledge. तो आज आपको ये भी चाहिए और वो भी चाहिए, विद होप कि इससे सुख मिलेगा मुझको या उससे सुख मिलेगा. And then accordingly you are acting also. Unless you refine this, this is to be understood that knowledge is also hindrance. Your bhog is also hindrance. And your dharma, if it becomes siddhanta agraha, it becomes the obstacle, in the path. नहीं मुझे तो नहाने से ही प्रैक्टिस कर सकता हूँ, बिना नहाए प्रैक्टिस नहीं हो सकती. नो. कबीर सेज नहाए धोए क्या करे जब मन का मैल न धोए. What is the use of wasting the water, So सिद्धांतों का आग्रह भी वो हो जाता है. So this kind of things. But if we take it at the superficial level, it will never help us. We have to dive, we have to live all these concepts in life, then only. So we have to refine all this. Patanjali refines this with Kriya Yoga. Mantra Yoga refines, Hatha Yoga refines it by its own way, other yogas they refine. So actually speaking, this scripture, whether it is a yoga scripture or whatever it is a kind of supermarket, So whatever is suitable to you, that you have to choose, my dear friend, and accordingly you have to apply in your day-to-day life. That can help you to a certain extent. That's what I feel. Now, according to Shiv Samhita, nadis carry and supply the required energy to Sukshma Sharira and Sthula Sharira. That is what I was talking about. Now, unless you understand this nadis, unless you understand the chakras, but this understanding should not be based only on hard knowledge. It is to be experienced somewhere or other. Let me give you one example. Nadis, these are said to be the khol, through which the energy is flowing. These are said to be the nargatau. There is a root in Sanskrit. So, khol, through which the energy passes, that is called a nadi. But we will not be able to understand. This will be a kind of what you call the superficial. You cannot equate it with the arteries and the veins and the shiras and the heras, of Ayurveda. No, not at all. Let me give you one example. Now he is leave aside because it is connected with the buyer. But remote control, with the remote. If there is a remote, I can press the remote and it will be changed. So from a remote to the TV set or this projector, there is a path in between, but it is not visible to me. It is visible only to the instrument, which can understand its language, So only the person who is the practitioner can understand these nadis. Otherwise, it is very difficult. So, somewhere or other, on the basis of our own practice, we have to start understanding all these things. Otherwise, it remains. And this energy, the chakras, which are said to be the center, when these nadis are crisscrossing this particular area, this crisscrossing, that is called energy center. We call it chakra, Mooladhara chakra, Swadhisthana chakra. So these are understandable. It can be understood by only by the practitioner, not by the other people. So further, Sukshma Sharir, there are two opinions. If you go to Vedanta, it is of 18 elements. If you go to Patanjali Yoga, Sankhya philosophy, 17 elements. So your intellect, your manas, your ahankar, your sukshma indriyas, and tanmatras, this is considered to be the Sukshma Sharir. Sukshma Sharir. All this is considered to be Sukshma Sharir. When you go to Vedanta, you have to add the Panch Prana also. Sukshma. This is a Sukshma body. There are three bodies, Karana Sharir, Sukshma Sharir and Sthula Sharir. This is a Sthula Sharir. This Sthula Sharir cannot work without the help of Sukshma Sharir. So Sukshma Sharir is your mana, buddhi, ahankar और आपकी इंद्रियां, ये सब सूक्ष्म शरीर. और कारण शरीर, ये जो कर्माशय में जो आपके जितने भी संस्कार जो हैं वो पड़े हुए, जिनके कारण फिर आप ये शरीर धारण करते हो, वो कारण शरीर है. जिस कारण शरीर के माध्यम से ही आपको ये मिलता है जो भी मिला, ये कारण शरीर. 3 प्रकार के शरीर. सो स्थूल शरीर, सूक्ष्म शरीर और कारण शरीर. और अगर हम तैत्तिरीय उपनिषद के भाषा में अगर समझने का प्रयास करें इसको, तो ये जो शरीर आपका, आप खुद देखिए, बिना प्राण के काम नहीं कर सकता है. तो ये अन्नमय कोश जो है आपका, ये प्राणमय कोश से रेगुलेटेड है. ये प्राणमय कोश आपका मनोमय कोश से रेगुलेटेड है. ये मनोमय कोश विज्ञानमय कोश से रेगुलेटेड है, और ये विज्ञानमय कोश आपका अल्टीमेटली आनंदमय कोश से रेगुलेटेड है। ऐसा भी समझा जा सकता है उसको। और ये जो आनंदमय कोश के बाद ये विज्ञानमय कोश है, या ये क्रम है एक, इसको आप ऐसा समझ सकते हैं। जब तक इस बारीकी को नहीं जानेंगे तब तक हम इसके कार्यकलापों से भी अपरिचित रह जाएंगे। क्योंकि आप मन को आप कंट्रोल करना हो तो आप अपने प्राण को कंट्रोल कीजिए। यदि आपको प्राण की एनर्जी को सिस्टमेटिक करना है तो आप सुबह सुबह अनुकूल जी के पास रोज जाइए। देखिए धीरे धीरे आप आसन करने से, ये करने से, वो करने से, वो ठीक ठाक से आप प्राणिक एनर्जी भी आपको रेगुलेट करने आ जाएगी धीरे धीरे। और यदि आपको प्राणिक एनर्जी कंट्रोल करने आ गई तो मन भी कंट्रोल करने आ जाएगा। सिंपल बात है कि चले बाते चलम चित्तम और निश्चले निश्चलम भवेत, योगी स्थानुत्तम आपनोति यदा वायु निरोधित। ऐसा फिर प्राण मन किसके हाथ में है? अब कठोपनिषद का, इफ आई टॉक इन टर्म्स ऑफ कठोपनिषद, मेटाफोरिकली इट इज सेड दिस बॉडी इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी द चैरिट, रथ। और इस रथ को हाँकने के लिए 10 घोड़े आपके। कौन कौन से? ज्ञान इंद्रियां और कर्म इंद्रियां। 5 ज्ञान इंद्रियां, कर्म इंद्रियां। और इन घोड़ों को लिए एक लगाम है, वो आपका मन है। और ये मन किसके, लगाम किसके हाथ में है? बुद्धि के हाथ में। सारथी कौन है? बुद्धि है। ऐसा ही समझना पड़ेगा उसको। तो इसको मन को रेगुलेट करने के लिए, मन को कंट्रोल करने के लिए सारथी है ऊपर, वो बुद्धि आपकी। लेकिन बुद्धि कैसा करती है? निर्णय, जैसा कोरिलेशन एस्टेब्लिश होता है। यदि ज्ञान इच्छा क्रिया आपकी वो लोअर लेवल वाली है तो लोअर लेवल का कोरिलेशन एस्टेब्लिश होगा और तदनुसार आपको निर्णय मिलेगा। क्योंकि निश्चयात्मक अंतःकरण स्थिति बुद्धि, बुद्धि तो निर्णायक शक्ति है। लेकिन वो निर्णय, जैसे जज जो है वो फैक्ट्स के ऊपर निर्णय देता है। हाँ, इतने एविडेंसेस हैं, ये एविडेंसेस हैं, उसके अनुसार वो निर्णय देता है। ऐसे ही बुद्धि भी तदनुसार निर्णय देती है। जो अहंकार जैसा कोरिलेशन एस्टेब्लिश करके वो इंफॉर्मेशन बुद्धि को देता है। आपको पता है ना कैसे ये होता है, इसको समझना भी बहुत जरूरी है। मन जो है हमारी भारतीय चिंतन में, क्योंकि हमारी साइकोलॉजी फिलॉसफी से अलग नहीं हुई कभी भी, उसके साथ ही रही, वो जुड़ी हुई। जैसे वेस्टर्न साइकोलॉजी में मन नहीं, वो उनका माइंड है जो ऑल इंक्लूसिव है। पता है ना आपको ये बात? तो हमारे यहाँ ये मन एक पार्ट है इस अंतःकरण का। जब हम मिला के बोलते हैं तो सांख्य योग के शब्दों में अंतःकरणम त्रिविधम, और जब हम वेदांत की टर्मिनोलॉजी में बात करते हैं तो अंतःकरणम चतुर्विधम। तो इस अंतःकरण में अगर त्रिविधम अंतःकरण की बात करें या कैसे भी, उनसे एक ही है, दूसरा कोई भेद नहीं उसमें। मन जो है आपका वो इंद्रिय के माध्यम से वस्तु के पास जाता है, ऑब्जेक्ट के पास जाता है। वो ऑब्जेक्ट को धारण करता है। वो उसमें ये कैपेसिटी है कि वो इट एज्यूम्स द फॉर्म ऑफ द ऑब्जेक्ट। व्हेन इट एज्यूम्स द फॉर्म, then this information, because it is said to be उभयात्मक इंद्री, मन जो है वो उभयात्मक का, इधर वो अंतःकरण से भी जुड़ा है, उधर बाह्य करणों से भी जुड़ा है, इसलिए उभयात्मक है। तो नाउ दिस whatever it has assumed, that information will go to the अहंकार, अहंकार के पास जाती है। अहंकार वो कर्माशय में खोजता है, उसका कोरिलेशन एस्टेब्लिश करता है। हाँ, हमने देखा था शर्मा जी को पिछली बार इधर आए थे, वो कर्माशय में खोजता है, फिर वो एस्टेब्लिश करता है, फिर बुद्धि के पास वो इन्फॉर्मेशन तब जाती है। तो बुद्धि कहती है हाँ ये शर्मा ही है, ये वर्मा नहीं है, ना गुप्ता है। ये तरीका है इस जगत को हम कैसा परसीव करते हैं, हाउ वी आर। आई एम सॉरी बिकॉज ही आस्क्ड इन हिंदी, and therefore I started in Hindi. So this is how we are perceiving the universe. Mind goes out to the object, it assumes the form of the object, that information it puts before the ahankara, Now ahankar correlates as per the previous samskaras, subliminal impressions, and as this correlation is established, that information goes to the intellect and intellect decides, because it is said to be the deciding factor. Okay? Accordingly, you decide and you perform the action. Okay? So this is what I was talking with him. I am sorry. I will keep in mind that you are also present in the class. Okay. So all the text, this is just to give you the idea that Patanjali Yoga and his followers, these are those who have accepted the eightfold path of yoga. And what is the eightfold path? This is Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. Hata Pradipika, this is the 4 limbs. Gheranda Samhita, these are the 7 limbs. आगे चल सकते हैं? Now 6 limbs, all they are follow. Those who have accepted the 6 limbs of yoga, they are the follower of Gorakshnath. These are the texts you can see. And Tejobindu Upanishad is only one. It accepts 15 limbs of yoga. And what are the 15 limbs? These are the 15 limbs. But Shiv Samhita does not bind yoga in the limits of these limbs of yoga. So it does not accept any limbs. It talks about the different principles and different practices. Next. Now, we'll give you the little bit the introduction about this Shiv Samhita. Once you have this kind of background, we'll go through the text. As Rana ji said, that we can go like express, with the verses. But sometimes it is very difficult because it depicts the Vedantic ideas and very difficult to explain. So with the help of you all, I will try my level best to understand, because I am also once again going to go through. It was done in 1990, 99. It was done in 1999. Okay, and thereafter it was भूल गए थे हम. राणा जी ने फिर से याद दिलवा दिया. Rana ji reminded me about Shiv Samhita once again. So first is the philosophical aspect, and the philosophy is nothing but the Vedanta, nothing else. What is that philosophy? Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya, Jivo Brahma Ekyam. So with a view to establish, and all examples which are available in Vedanta, Vadharupavavad and this and that, everything is available. So whole philosophy represents the Vedanta here, nothing else. The topic discussed are Satya. What is that Satya? It is unchangeable, it is beginningless, it is endless, it is formless. Sat Chit Ananda. Consciousness and devoid of duality. There's no Dvaitavad. There's only. Now Asatya is rest, everything is Asatya. Now Mukti is liberation, can be achieved only through self-realization. Bondage is nothing but the identification of self with that which we are not. I was talking in the beginning. This is the bondage. What is the freedom? Just to. What is that freedom? Shivoham, Shivoham, Shiva Sarupoham, Nityoham, Shuddhoham, Buddhoham, Muktoham, Shiva Sarupoham. This is the reality, nothing else. And therefore, Nenam Chindanti Shastrani, न शस्त्र से कटे, नहीं अग्नि जलाए, गलाए न पानी, न मृत्यु मिटाए, वही आत्मा सच्चिदानंद में हूँ. Truth, wisdom and bliss. Water cannot wet it, the fire cannot burn it, the instrument cannot cut it. So, who am I then? Sat, Chit and Anand. These terms are understandable to you. Okay? Truth, wisdom and bliss. So that is the story. What is the marga? How to achieve this? How we can overcome this agyan, this maya? With the help of the yogic discipline is the only path through which the knowledge of self can be accomplished. There is no other path. People used to say, even in Vedanta Sutras, if you go through Asina Sambhavat, this is a Brahma Sutra, Asina Sambhavat. Only by sitting, for what? Achalatvam cha apeksha. If you want that kind of stability, not only of your mind but also of the body-mind complex, you can say, then you have to sit down, you have to sit in asana, asinaha sambhavat, only through sitting in the beginning. It follows the Advaita Siddhanta, nothing else. So, chapter 2 gives us the yogic anatomy and physiology and holds the, what you call, Jatha Brahmande Tatha Pindande. So, body is considered to be the miniature. Now, it contains enlightening discussion on Merudanda, Nadi and Kundalini, which is said to be the Adhar, base of the universe. Now, here, little bit. Other texts they say that at the top of the head there is a Chandra Mandal from where the nectar is oozing all the time. This nectar goes down to the umbilicus area where sun is sitting, and this sun consumes this nectar, and therefore there is a aging effect. Now this says little different. He says that at the bottom part of this Merudanda, this is very, very important. Where the sun is sitting, he is not talking about the navel region. So this is the difference between Shiv Samhita and the other Hatha Yogic text. Nadis and Kundalini, which is said to be the Adhar. Kundalini, that is what I have discussed with you, in the form of, that is a prana, which is revolving in a kundalakar at the perineum part. This is called Kundalini. All functions of the body are dependent on spinal cord. From moon flows the stream of nectar that is divided into two parts. One is through Ida, that nourishes the body. Other one is the Sushumna, cause of creation. The sun is located at the root, bottom part of this Merudanda, consumes the nectar. That is the difference a little bit. This sun is considered to be the cause of creation as well as the dissolution. Nadis, other texts they say 72,000. If you go to Charandas Yogi, he says 72,864 nadis. But Shiv Samhita says 3,50,000 nadis. Out of these, 14 are very important. But out of these 14, 3 are very important: Sushumna, Ida and Pingala. And according to this text, there is a Chitra Nadi in Sushumna, which is, in other words, is said to be the Brahma Nadi. Description of the 10 Vayus, very, very important. Unless, if you want to practice pranayam, you must know how these Vayus, how this is working in the different places in the body. I think you are you aware of these 10 Vayus? Everyone? 4 stages of yoga: Arambha, Ghata, Parichaya and Nishpatti. If you go through Hatpradipika, it talks about in a different manner. It talks that in the Arambha Avastha you will hear some nad, When you go to the Ghata Avastha, that nad, it may be in the nasopharyngeal cavity, that nad can be heard. When you go to Parichaya Avastha, then again as if this is being in the eyebrows between at the Agya level chakra, you may say, this drum is being beaten. But when you reach to the Nishpatti state, that is a well-tuned Veena sound can be heard. That is what Nad is, Hatpradipika talks about. But when you talk about this Shiv Samhita, it says, if you perform the Kumbhakas up to 320, this will be your Ghatavastha. And when you reach to the culminate this Ghatavastha, you are reaching to the state of Pratyahara. Then if you increase the Kumbhakas, then you may reach to the Parichaya Avastha. And when you reach to the highest level of, means 24 hours you have to practice. So this is called the Nishpatti. It is based on the pranayam. That is what the difference in Shiv Samhita. Rest. Now again continues, this discussion is continued in the 3rd chapter. Discussion on anatomy and physiology continues along with the other topics: Pranavayu, Vayu Siddhis, Yoga of quick success, importance of gurus. This is also very important. And you all know this importance. 4 avasthas of yoga: Arambha, Ghata, Parichaya and Nishpatti. Discussion on Vigna, Pranava Japa for overcoming them, Dharana on Panch Mahabhutas, Vayu Sadhana, discussion on 4 asanas. Only 4 asanas he has discussed, nothing else. He also talks about the 84 lakhs asanas and 84 are, but only talks about only 4. Siddhasana, Padmasana, Paschimottan, he calls it Ugrasana and Swastikasana. Description of 10 mudras, Mahamudra, Mahamanda, Mahabhed, but he emphasizes that the practice of 3, starting 3 mudras in combination, it is very, very important. Then comes the Khechari mudra. All these mudras, by the purpose, what is the purpose of mudras? Only to tackle that energy which is oozing. If you perform the Khechari mudra, the nectar which is oozing, you will be able to taste that nectar. You will never allow that nectar to go down. So this is Khechari mudra. Viparit Karni, Jalandhar, Moolavanda, Udyan, Viparit Karni, Bajroli and this Shakti Chalan. All text, they are talking about the Shakti Chalan mudra, but they are not describing properly this Shakti Chalan. The whole literature, if you go through, and you will be agreed with my this statement, that they are not talking much about the Shakti Chalan. They are describing the Shakti Chalan, but very few. I think it is dangerous and therefore they have avoided this. But this can be learned from the proper master. Emphasis on the sequential practice of the 3 mudras is very, very important according to this text. Next. So the discussion on 10 mudras along with their techniques and effects. These are the emphasis on the sequential. This is one and the same, there is no difference. So the first one, 3rd part is also containing the 4th one. 5th, go to the 5th. So Sadhak, Vadak, Vignas, Dharma, Bhogarup and Jnanarup Vigna, 4 types of yoga, mantra, lay, hat and yaj, 4 types of sadhakas, Mridu, Madhya, Adhimatra and Adhimatratam. Mridu, Madhya, Adhimatra, Adhimatratam means it shows the intensity of the sadhakas. Mitahar to be followed till the perfection. Mitahar, there is a concept, moderation, as in Bhagavad Gita, Natyashnata, ज़्यादा खाने वाला भी नहीं और कम खाने वाला भी नहीं. Moderation is to be followed in eating, but there is a specific concept according to Ghirana Samhita according to Hatha Pradipika, according to Shiv Samhita, Susnigdham Maduraharam Chaturthansh Vivarjita Bhujyate Shiv Sampriti. So it gives us three things. Quality of food we have to keep in mind, quantity of food, and then our attitude while eating. This is most important. So Mitahara, Dhyan in Shavasana. This is the only text which talks about the dhyana while in Shavasana. This is the only text. There is a chance that if you Shavasana is very, very difficult asana. Very difficult asana. So you can try. But people used to say, oh, it is acha, okay. But very difficult asana. You have to imitate, with a view to overcome your abhinavesha. You know abhinavesha, kalesha? I will discuss this. So this abhinavesha is sorasabahi. It flows in its own way, because we have experienced so-called this death in so many lives, and therefore there is a fear. Again there is a fear. So with a view to overcome this fear, you have to imitate like a Shava, So this is, with the help of this, you can overcome that fear also. Abhinavesh Klesh can be overcome to a certain extent. Mantra sadhana and its effects. It's very, very important. Here few things are to be understood. What is mantra? How the mantra helps us in overcoming our problems, and how we can reach to the state of samadhi with the help of this mantra. These are few questions which are to be understood properly. But today onwards, I wish that we should pass a resolution today. जो भी आप करने जा रहे हैं, whatever you are going to do it with awareness. Do it with awareness. Whatever you do. We are performing our actions mechanically in life, and therefore it becomes problem for us. So with awareness. Chapter ends with the saying that for the sake of yoga, one need not renounce the household life. This is the only text which says. See? And need to be perform yoga with nishkam bhava. Sakam bhava and nishkam bhava. These two bhavas are to be understood properly. Whenever you are acting with some expectations in life, I am helping Mr. Prabhakar ji with some expectations. Prabhakar ji is helping me with. It is a skam karma. Skam. Bhav is skam. Even though when this judge gives the judgment, he has murdered, but his intention was not to murder him. His intention was different. And on the basis of that, he says no. इसको कोई punishment नहीं, इसको ऐसा punishment मिलेगा. Likewise, skam and nishkam, without any expectation. This is my duty. This is my duty. Yesterday, Anantji was preparing something for me because I was not feeling well. Some kashaya, you may call it kada. At that point of time, I was singing in front of him. What was that? Par seva, par upkar mein hum, निज जीवन सफल बना जाए, वो शक्ति हमें दो, दया निधे, कर्तव्य मार्ग पर डट जाएं. What is कर्तव्य? We have to understand it. तो अगला स्टेप क्या बोलता है? What is कर्तव्य? हम दीन दुखी निबलों अबलों के प्रभु, सेवक बन संताप हरें, जो हैं भूले भटके अटके उनको तारें खुद तर जाएं, वो शक्ति हमें दो. What is कर्तव्य? This is what is the कर्तव्य. To serve others. You know, we are breathing at this moment. Are you breathing? Please check it up. Are you paying for it? Are you paying for it? Sometime we should give thought to it. Everything is being provided to us by this Mother Nature. Everything, you know. When in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, when people used to define Asteya Pratisthayam Sarvaratnopasthanam, you will be astonished to note that some Sanskrit commentators, they have commented on this sutra that the people who are getting established in following this Asteya will get some wealth, you know, underground. Whether the person is following these only for the wealth, you know, is it?
No.
Whatever you need, as per your, whatever is essential, that will be provided to you. That is what is the meaning, the inherent meaning of this. Whenever there is a need of any, that your life is threatened by something, you know, that will be provided. That is the meaning of this. But just we have to learn to live in tune with this Mother Nature. Once we start living as this Mother Nature is serving, everything of this, whatever is available in the universe, it is only for others, but we are meant only for ourselves. So therefore it is reminded, Paraseva, as this Prakriti is serving others, similarly we have to learn to serve others. When Mother Teresa started serving others, she didn't start by keeping this नहीं आ रहा है चाय का टाइम हो गया. Somebody should be there to check, you know. So she didn't start for Nobel Prize. She started her kartabya by serving others like Mother Nature. And it was recognized by Mother Nature once again, and Nobel Prize was given to her. With these words, thank you very much for this. Now we'll go the shlokas and their meanings, okay? Sometime in between we may discuss something, but now the further session will start with this. Thank you very much.